Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? First two cards we are starting our day off with today. We have here King of Pentacles in its upright in combination with our Wheel of Fortune. Slow and steady wins the race right now. You know, I got to stress this. One of the things that we've been seeing so much with this eclipse energy is it's volatile. We've been talking about this over and over and over ever since the eclipse started. But what is the beauty? And we have to stress this because we also saw that leading up to that eclipse cycle, we had that Mercury retrograde. So the best way I can describe the energy right now, I want you to think about that roller coaster that cranks up the hill, right? And then we had the equinox where you're kind of sitting here at the top of it. And when we were going up through the Mercury retrograde, everything was really slow, right? It felt like a time extending. Now we're at the midpoint. Now we hit the eclipse season. Everything feels like it's moving 3 times faster than the speed of light. Just a lot of things, the hits keep coming. One thing after another, after another, after another. We often see the overlapping of path work during eclipse cycles. We also see the amplification of energy, which is not being helped by the fact that we just had the Pisces full moon. What's important when you're going through all of that volatility energetically? Consistency and integrity. Consistency and integrity. Consistency and integrity. So that has been the watchwords that we've been seeing that are helping us navigate this cycle right now. Because the ability, and that's why I'm going to sound like a broken record. I'm going to say this over and over again during this eclipse season. The ability to focus, the ability to keep one's own sense of purpose, not letting oneself move off course in the course of navigating the circumstances around you to a certain extent. There's a lot of potentiality for energetic grounding right now. There's a lot of work that we're seeing right now in being able to build a lot of stability during this time, so long as you are navigating this energy with a sense of, I'm going to keep saying it because this was the words that came up in our reading yesterday, conviction and integrity. Not letting yourself get energetically distracted right now. And I know I can see right now that that's very hard. For masculine energy and feminine, we also saw deep within divine union, that ability of pushing out of one's own comfort zone. It's difficult. It's hard. You feel like you're learning as you go. Masculine and feminine taking different approaches to things, but also in the ability of taking different approaches, we see that this is the energy that is feeling a little bit of that sense of exhaustion. But that's the exhaustion. I have to stress this. This isn't the exhaustion of feeling like one is banging one's own head against the wall. This is the exhaustion of seeing the fact that you're trying to do something in a way that you haven't done it before, and you're seeing the progress. But you're also seeing how much further you have to go. I told you, it's like that vista point at the top of the roller coaster. So for a lot of the energy right now, letting that be a modality where you hold on to that sense of recognizing how far you've come, coming into spaces of gratitude right now, really letting that modality of appreciation ground your activation. For a lot of the energy right now, this could be a very expansive time. But I'm going to say this again, now is not the time to get distracted. Not now. Now is always the time when we get this type of energy for eclipses. You might have a lot of ideas. I always say, write them down. Don't activate on them. If you got a new idea during the eclipse, write it down. If it still feels like a good idea at the end of the eclipse, it's a good idea. But you want to avoid moving into side quest energy, if you will, during these eclipse processes, because there's always a bit of this wild hair energy that we have during the eclipse season. So we see even now, masculine and feminine, this is having a different impact. Masculine, starting to feel more comfortable in that sense of learning how to be uncomfortable, doing more of that inner child integration, building into that sense of integrating a sense of play into the things that you're doing right now. And even here, if this was masculine energy, I almost see a lot of the masculine energy deep within divine union right now saying, And this was this was a reaffirmation of the mantra that we saw that was coming through over the last few days as well. If this was masculine energy that was feeling frustrated at themselves for not doing this sooner, this is a lot of the masculine energy that's reaffirming that sense or that space of saying to oneself, I am always on time. You're never late on your own pathwork. You're exactly where you need to be. And so that's a lot of the energy that's almost feeling that sense of appreciation for oneself, saying like that moment of saying it takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable. While for feminine energy, for a lot of the feminine energy navigating this is a lot of the feminine energy that's building into that same sense of energetic resilience, working through those, having those benchmarks, going through those milestones. Feminine is taking more of a long-term approach to things right now. Masculine is operating more in the state, on the space of the practical. Feminine is thinking more a bit on the space of the longer term. But that's what's nice about these energies when they're moving with one another. That ability to be able to tackle things in different ways. That's the gift of like practicality and long-term path work here. So there's a lot of this. I want to say feminine's focus today feels a lot on planning. Masculine feels like there's a lot more present activation that's occurring right now. A lot of hands-on stuff. Masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union. This is what we were seeing and recognizing to a certain extent, that we either see that a lot of energy right now has moved deeper into divine union because they identified and recognized that sense of those two words that were coming to our reading yesterday, which was integrity and conviction. If these were energies that started to feel the vulnerability in terms of the expansiveness of the energetic feeling, but were able to talk through them. Masculine, again, almost coming towards feminine and saying, you make me feel like a child. But that's the masculine that doesn't fear that, welcomes that journey with the feminine. The feminine feeling the security and the stability of a masculine that's able to articulate how they feel instead of react to what they feel. For masculine, a feminine energy that's able to recognize and not like build into that space of like volatility emotionally when they start to feel vulnerable. These are the energies that are moving towards one another in this space because they're almost looking at one another and saying, you know, you're not just in a place of being open. You're strong enough to navigate that space together. So we see even now like a lot of energy over the last week, moving deeper into divine union. Now again, I do see the fact that there was some energy here that potentially may have fallen into separation. The gift that's happening here for the energy that may have fallen into separation during this time has to do, and it's coming through on the energy that recognizes what is happening. Because if these are modalities where in the past someone saw someone starting to fall in love and then starting to act weird, starting to act vulnerable, starting to pull away, this isn't the energy that is overly internalizing that. This isn't the energy that's saying, I must be doing something wrong. Something must have changed. This is the energy that's coming into the acknowledgement point and almost saying to oneself that not everyone is ready. Like the ability to hold the space for love. The reason it is a process is because it is a process of healing oneself enough to be able to be vulnerable and strong enough to maintain that energetic consistency. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy navigating that space, the gift of this is almost some of that energy that is asking that question to someone, not trying to force it, not trying to get too overly anxious in that space, but almost saying, are you sure this is what you want? Do you know what you want? And that recognition point that often someone may say that they desire something, but they don't have the tangible ability to do so. They don't have that ability within the self, like that recognition of being able to have the assessment of the self that is necessary and fundamental to build into a healthy connection. This is the energy that is seeing all they need to see in those experiences, because the way that someone is handling those questions, not coming into a space of being accusatory, but almost saying, have you noticed and recognized that you're changing? Have you recognized that you're pulling away at a time that you should be moving closer? This is the energy that's almost like, again, seeing all they need to see by the ability of seeing how someone is navigating that question. So even here, there is some kind of possibility of an energetic union occurring, because this is giving me like a little bit of that homework space of self-assessment. I do see here that there is some energy in this experience, even saying the fact that someone is speaking towards them about that instead of reacting to it. There's energy here that is going into a state or space of contemplation. And it is different for masculine and feminine energy. For masculine, a lot of that energy that we're seeing right now may be that contemplation space of recognizing that when you move into divine union with someone, you have to be ready to effectively relinquish some level or degree of autonomy, right? And I see like that is the trade-off. And I see that a lot of the masculine energy in that modality right now, if there's like that sense of coming in and out of that frequency, that is the energy that's looking at themselves and saying, am I energetically ready for the power and weight of an energetic commitment that's coming towards me with this level and degree of intensity? So we see even now, like there's a lot of this heavy contemplative energy here. But this is contemplative upon the path work, which is important. For feminine, this is feminine that's also potentially doing that work. If this is feminine that also feels like they have a tendency of running away when there's that expansion point or feeling the vulnerability. For feminine energy, that ability to articulate through how they're feeling or instead of reacting to it, that's a lot of the feminine energy that is working through that sense of energetic resilience. So even here, like this is some heavy lifting. This is some heavy conversations that I'm potentially seeing that are happening right now for energy that is moving into divine union, because there's a lot of conversation about the difference between what one says one desires versus what one is tangibly doing. And so I see even now there may be a little bit of energetic comparison that's occurring in some of these conversations saying, well, if you want this, you got to do this. Like, you can't want this and not do that. You can't say you want something and then do a bunch of stuff that feels counter to that, right? So we see even now, there's a lot of that, I want to say, energetic weighing that's occurring during this time. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, I'm going to say this right now, there's a lot of energy in flux right now in separation. And all I keep seeing is this is the energy that is moving in the direction that feels like it is creating integrity and conviction. Integrity and conviction. Integrity and conviction. And that's the energy here. And this is feminine in separation saying, I want masculine energy that isn't promising what that change will be. I want the masculine energy that's manifesting this change presently. Like this is the feminine energy that isn't building forth in relationality to the connection with masculine. This is a feminine energy saying it's, and that's why I said even here, if these were energetic connections that were coming back together after a period of time, these aren't like instantaneous reconnections here. This is energy that someone may be connecting to and saying like, there's been a lot that's happened. I've changed a lot. And someone that's able to articulate this, even if these are not new connections, because I'm seeing either here, they're saying that these are either very, very new connections or very, very old connections. But the importance and the value of the directionality has to do less with the quality of whether they're recognized or not. It has more to do with whether the qualities and characteristics of integrity and conviction are present. For masculine, it is same, because for a lot of the masculine energy, this is a very grounding time. I see a lot of masculine energy right now that's saying to themselves, I'm ready energetically. I know what it, and this is beautiful because this is masculine energy and separation saying, not only do I know what I want, but I feel like I'm in a place where I'm ready to facilitate, not just feeling like I'm moving towards that, I'm actively within it. Continuing to get clarification here, third card in our 5-card spread for today is center card for our read. Oh, we love this card today. This is beautiful. We've got here our 6 of Cups in its upright. So one of the things that we're seeing right now that's really, really lovely is the fact that for masculine and feminine energy across, and I told you, one of the things we often see, which makes it makes it a little easier for me to read for during eclipse processes. But often, sometimes it takes time for these lessons to move up and down the frequencies. Often when we're in the eclipse energy, things ramp up because they're almost happening instantaneously across all of them at the same time. So a lot of the balancing right now in relationality to some of that path work. Now, for masculine and feminine energy in separation, this is what I mean about it feels like it is not it's not relevant energetically as to whether these are very, very old energetic connections or very, very new energetic connections, because the important thing that recognizes the energy, as I said, moving towards the energetic connections that feel like they are possessing conviction and integrity. This is why, because the energy in separation is moving towards the energetic connections that feel like they are viable, that feel like they are healthy, that feel like they are healed. And so the ability to identify that healing, it doesn't require an observation as to whether it's new or old energy, because there can be old energy that has healed. There can be new energy that is healed. That's why I'm saying even now, this does not feel like, this is not energy that is in proximity. This is not energy that is in immediate proximity if you're walking away from something, because they're saying to me that this is energy that has had time. This has had a significant amount of time that has occurred wherein someone has come into a state or space of energetic healing. So if there's something here from the past that's coming back during this eclipse cycle, it's going to feel like a completely different person. It's going to feel like a completely different energy, because you can see how positive so many of these cards are. Someone who's found that grounding, and I need to stress this isn't someone offering to change. This isn't someone offering to change for the sake of an energetic connection. This is an energetic connection that has changed and is now returning because they have implemented those changes for their own self. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, this is a lot of energy right now that is articulating and having hard conversations moving into divine union. This is the energy that's speaking towards someone and saying it's not good, it's not enough that we have good days or bad days. This is the energy that says that does not, like, and I can almost see some energy talking to someone if there's volatility here. And the thing that they're saying, the thing that's coming through on this is the fact that even if they're mathematically the same, something that goes like this, it's like the math does not equal the same, because if something's volatile and then something's low and something's high and something's low and something's high and something low, that's not the right energetic frequency. Because what's basically happening there, even if you say, well, you know, if you take the good days and you take the bad days and you mash them up, you get to like that 0 point. It's not the same, because it doesn't feel, it doesn't feel the same as being in something that feels energetically consistent. Like you could take the weight of waves and like the dips and the troughs and say, well, if you add them up, they're the same on paper, but the feeling of it is completely different. So we see even now there's a lot of this energy that's saying it's not good enough for us to have good moments. We need to have consistency in our energetic connection. So we see even now, like that's a lot of the energy that's saying it takes consistency and integrity to maintain balance. It's not natural, right? It requires that ability of putting, like if you just allow oneself to move via your own energetic connection, like you always feel like you're at the behest of the energy that you're feeling and experiencing. So this is the energy that's almost saying to one another coming into divine union, I know you desire divine union, but are you ready to facilitate the work that is required to maintain one? I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. It's not, there's a lot of conversations that are potentially happening right now that are along the lines of saying to someone, I know you say that you desire a divine union, but do you have the ability to maintain the energetic consistency that is required to maintain, to maintain one? While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union, this is the energy that's just, again, working to facilitate and stay grounded. And this is, I have to say, for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, this feels like this work is paying off a bit. Like this feels, I see even now, And this is why it's so important not to be reactive, right? Because if these are energetic connections here, where like having, I told you the last few days with all of that sensitivity and the Pisces energy, having a lot of the energy deep within divine union being like, why is everybody acting like baby? Why is everybody acting like baby? Because everybody needs that nurturing right now, right? So as long as you're, and like, honestly, I almost see that a lot of that energy, you know, working through that, not matching what was being brought forth to you, but just trying to come into that space of being supportive, right? Of being compassionate, allowing that compassion with boundaries to extend forward. This is the energy that's starting to feel the energy around them kind of coming out of that space of being hypersensitive, you know? Like it's creating a little bit more of that grounding again, which we love to see. And that even here, I feel like this is the energy that's like giving each other that boost of confidence along the way, right? Because this is the energy that's getting like, you know, just kind of getting more like everybody's getting more comfortable now is what I'm getting in this eclipse energy. Next two cards in our 5-card spread for today. We've got here our Hermit and our High Priestess in its reversal. Now, again, this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. And I have to say, one of the reasons that we're seeing a little bit of this disparity right now is because for a lot of the energy that we're identifying, what we're seeing effectively has to do with the fact that for masculine, that sense of becoming comfortable, you know, we even talked about some of that inner child healing here. Masculine becoming comfortable, stepping out of their comfort zone. It's embracing discomfort, but in a way that like is allowing for a little bit of that flourishing of creativity. So there's a little bit of an easement here, right? Because as we said, for a lot of the masculine energy doing that work, it's embracing a sense of play. Feminine, this is a bit harder right now because this isn't about the feminine embracing a sense of play. This is a lot of the feminine energy right now, really knuckling down, really like building into that sense of focusing and prioritizing. And even here, for a lot of the feminine energy doing that, you know, that ability to, I want to say, concentrate, to prioritize, it feels like it's energetically difficult because in the process of doing that, the feminine is struggling with the sense that in the act of focusing and prioritizing, they're healing from those spaces and places where they feel like if they're not accessible and available to everyone, they are in some fundamental way letting someone down, right? This is a lot of the feminine energy working to heal that space of compassion. And the reason that can feel more difficult is that is the feminine energy that's being more hard on themselves on that process, because this is the feminine energy that's almost trying to challenge themselves in that space and saying, you know, if there was a way that I could amplify what I'm doing, then I would be able to get more done. So we see even now, like this is a lot of the feminine energy right now, thinking about how to adjust processes, how to, like, this is the feminine energy questioning the way they do things, trying to innovate. And so you can see why this may be feeling more difficult for the feminine right now, because this is not an expansion point. This is a concentration point, and it starts with the feminine assessing and reviewing the self to see if there's a way that they could do something in a better way. That's difficult work. But what we appreciate is both of these energies are seeing the positive results from those actions. And even here, these are the energies that are appreciating one another in the process, right? Like this is feminine appreciating masculine's own ability to like roll with those punches and to be strong enough to be vulnerable, right? For masculine, this is masculine appreciating the way that feminine solves problems, their perspective on things, right? Because this is the feminine energy, and that is often hard on themselves because they're so scrupulous in their thoughts. They don't assume that they're perfect. They're always looking for a fallibility point in their own energetic logic. So, continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Pentacles in combination with our Wheel of Fortune in its upright. one card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now in our Eight of Cups in its reversal. So a little bit of that energetic easement that we're seeing here that we love to see so much, because for a lot of this energy right now, as we said, some of this work that we're seeing, this is the expedition point that's starting to occur on this eclipse cycle. So things start feeling like they're picking up pace, right? I told you that this is what we were coming to expect, because we have to look at it again, the retrograde. Thinking about that roller coaster cranking up every time, feeling like it was slowing down, taking forever. We hit that eclipse, we hit that equinox point. Everything just balancing on the hair of a pin. And now, we're going through the eclipse season, and things feel like they're starting to move again. Things feel like they're starting to pick up pace. So we see even now, this is the energy that, again, isn't trying to get ahead of themselves, but is navigating that feeling of overwhelm with a lot of the lessons that we were taking away from Virgo season. What were the lessons that we were taking away from Virgo season? Everything can get done so long as you chart it on the map of prioritization and time. So this is the energy that's working really hard to set expectations while not getting too far ahead of themselves. That's difficult work, but it's important. A lot of planning here that we're seeing. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, I see a lot of these hard conversations that are happening right now. And it is the reason there is a sensitivity here is because there's a recognition for some of the energy coming into divine union right now about the difference between aspiration and integration. There's a difference between what someone says they desire versus what someone is actually willing to do and achieve, right? And so I see even now why some of this energy right now coming into divine union is having hard, fragile conversations, is potentially navigating a delicate situation wherein someone may be saying to someone, I know you say that you desire this, but your behavior seems indicative of the opposite. So this is the energy that's almost showing that to someone, not accusing, but just showing that to someone to try to get clarification. And again, the ability of someone to articulate why that change is there, whether they recognize it, whether that is something that they can accommodate and adjust, or whether that is something that someone is refusing to talk about or moving away or pushing off. This is giving the energy coming into divine union all the clarity they need as to whether someone's words can actually match their actions. And some of this here is bittersweet, because for some of that energy right now, what we're effectively seeing is this is that modality of someone potentially almost saying, I'm not sure if this person is aware of that. Like this could be someone that's starting to see something or quality and characteristic in someone saying, that's why we see the energy putting that forth to someone, not reacting to it, but just articulating on it. And that heavy sense of saying, listen, if you desire something, you have to be if you desire something new, and this is where a lot of these conversations are coming from right now, especially if these are energies just entering divine union for the first time. If you're trying to move into a space that's new, you need to be ready to let go of what is not that. So we see even now, like that is a lot of that energy articulating how much it takes to move into divine union. Because there's always a letting go process that occurs. There's always a change, right? Because in that ability to commit to another energetic counterpart, you have to come into that space of prioritizing the energetic connection above all to a certain extent. And so we see even now that there's a lot of energy saying, I know that you say that you desire this, but are you ready to activate upon that? There's a difference between saying that you desire something versus saying, I'm ready for that in the present moment. And so we see even now that these are the energies that are weighing that and saying to someone, are you, do you understand what you're asking for? Do you understand what it is? And if so, can you clarify why you may be saying that you desire this, but you seem like there's a reluctance or resistant point to move away from what is not that? Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, I'm going to say it again. Don't say to me, are they coming back? Right? Like the question that every tarot reader gets very tired of hearing, are they coming back? This is not the question. This is why, if you're reading properly, that question, it feels moot, because the answer that's coming through on that, it doesn't matter as to whether the energy is old, whether it is an old energetic connection, or whether it is a new energetic connection. All that matters is the quality and characteristic of the nature of the energy that is coming towards one. And so what they're saying here is a lot of that is the articulation of energy that is coming towards someone with integrity and conviction. And that is something that shows that that's not an energy that comes towards someone and says, I'm willing to change for you. This is energy that says, I have changed and I want to tell you about it. Like, I have changed and I want to tell you what I've learned in the process of becoming who I am now. And I am reintroducing myself to you because you have not met this version of me. So that's what we mean. That's what I see here. And that's why I keep saying this is probably an old energetic connection. If this is something that has been recognized, because it feels like it's new. It feels like someone who's gone through deep path work. Continuing to get clarification between our Wheel of Fortune in combination with our Six of Cups in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Ten of Swords in its upright. This is this year, these two cards, this is like eclipse season in a nutshell. So often what we have that occurs in eclipse seasons is we have a lot of that piling up of path work all at once. Like the work of many days happened in a single evening. It's that kind of energy. We did it. Say it didn't take a week. It took a night. We often get a lot of that intensity during these eclipse cycles. So we're seeing even now that for a lot of this energy, it's a little overwhelming. Because even here for the energy and separation, this is energy that's going through some pretty fundamental endings. These could be changes or recognizing the changes or the endings within the self. These could be fundamental changes and looking towards an energetic counterpart and saying, I know it's over between us. I know there's no coming back, right? At the same time, this is the ending that brings on a new beginning. This is why we were saying even a few days ago when we were saying, like, we saw so much energy and separation that was saying to themselves, I'm done. No, you understand. I'm done. I'm never doing this again. Like that affirmation, like triggers the new manifestation process, because it's in the moment that you say you're done, that what you're really saying to the universe is, I'm ready to begin. I'm done that lesson. I'm done that lesson now. I don't need that lesson anymore. And the universe goes, they just said they're done the lesson. And so the new lesson energetically begins. So we see even now that there's a lot of this energy that's going through that process. And I can see even now the energy being like, is this a joke? I just said I'm done. Why is all this stuff happening? No, it's not a joke. Listen to what you said. You told the universe you were done. They said, oh, they're done. They finished it. Oh yeah. The universe says to you, okay, I'm going to give this to you. Like a little child. The universe gives you something, goes, okay, when you're finished, you tell me, and I'll come back in here and I'll give you something else, right? And so the energy is when I'm done, I'm sick of this. The universe goes, okay, I think they're done now. Let's give them something new. So we're seeing a lot of this happening right now in this eclipse season. So a lot of the energy, I can see a lot of energy now throwing their hands up and being like, why is it every time I say I'm done, all of this stuff comes through? Put it together. Think about it. All right. So we see even now, and that's why, and I have to see even here, and this is a lot of that weighing process that we see is occurring right now. Because I see even now, if there's energetic connections that are coming towards someone in separation, the ability to weigh and to ask oneself the difference between, and I even see this here, like that sense of someone coming, if there's energy here coming back from the past, this is an energy saying, like, I want a new start. I almost see the energy saying, I'm sorry for what I did. I can see a lot of that energy saying, I feel like I owe you an energetic apology. You know what I mean? Like, I almost see a lot of this energy right now potentially reinforcing and rebuilding upon something. But it is coming via the acknowledgement of the detriment Because when you come into a path of healing and you see something about the self that you wish you could energetically change, usually the first thing you say to someone is, I feel like I owe you an apology, right? So we see even now that for so much of the energy, facilitating and doing that work, this is all about endings and new beginnings, and potentially even new beginnings around very long ago endings. But I'm going to stress this again because I get real trepidatious whenever I start talking about old energy. It doesn't necessarily matter the directionality from which the energy is approaching. What matters is whether there is conviction and integrity that is hallmarking what feels like a positive energetic connection. Masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, and I gotta say, this is more of that same energy we've been seeing for a lot of this energy that's still hovering in that space of coming into divine union. There's a lot of energy right now during this eclipse process that is feeling like they're having conversations that feel like they're incredibly heavy, that feel like they could make or break the energetic connection. And it feels like a lot of that vitality, like a lot of that here is being articulated in terms of looking towards someone and saying, I know you desire a divine union connection, but are you energetically prepared to take the steps necessary that would articulate upon a desire to actually be within one, right? There's a difference between the saying and the doing. And so we just see right now that for a lot of that energy, having that modality, and like, again, this is why the energy isn't coming into an accusatory space, having these conversations with someone. They're being very pragmatic. They're being very observational. They're being very logical because the energy is getting all the indications they need as to whether someone is ready to facilitate being in a partnership in that way in the process of how they are navigating a difficult conversation. Because the ability to navigate a difficult conversation is fundamental in relationality to be maintaining a healthy energetic connection. And we see even now, this is the energy that's saying to someone, you recognize and realize that having a relationship that goes like this, while it may feel amazing and then awful, that's not a healthy energetic connection. You can't take the math and go, well, if you weigh the positive and you weigh the negative, they just negate each other. So we're back into like that normal space. This is the energy saying, if that's what's happening here, if this is someone who's coming into that space of love and they're starting to act like this, instead of being like this is the energy basically saying, you're behaving in a way that is not consistent. And the consistency is fundamental. It is integral in order to maintain a healthy energetic connection, because the love that we give each other is expressed in consistency. Continuing to get clarification between our Six of Cups in combination with our Hermit energy. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Eight of Swords in its upright. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is deep within divine union. This is a lot of this energy right now that I want to say the biggest hurdle for a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now. It feels like operating in constraints. I got to stress this. Like a lot of this eclipse season, for the energy deep within divine union is doing the best one can in situations that are not energetically ideal. So we see a lot of this work here, but that's the beauty of the energy deep within divine union, which is like when we say that you make the best out of a situation, that's almost that modality. And we see even now masculine is getting creative, feminine is getting focused, and that's how they're both kind of working through that to a certain extent. And both are operating in that state that it doesn't feel like it's ideal. But this is the energy that almost reaffirms and says to oneself, we don't wait for something to be ideal to do it. We create the ideal with what we have, right? I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. We don't wait for something to be ideal in order to do it. We take what we have and we make it ideal. We do the best we can. So we see even now that like a lot of that energy, it's feeling a lot like, taking the lemons or turning them into lemonade or doing that type of work, like taking something that feels like it is a limitation and saying, how can I make this limitation become a positive? How can I take this and make it into something that's energetically better? So we see even now that for a lot of that energy facilitating through that work, it's requiring creativity for masculine. It's requiring focus for feminine. Both of these energies maintaining consistency throughout. And that's how they're supporting each other along the way. While continuing to get clarity for masculine and feminine right now coming into divine union. This is the energy that's saying, I can't do it alone. This is the energy that, again, if there's something here, because we saw a lot of energy going into divine union. So the energy that's still trying to come into divine union right now, this is the energy looking towards someone and saying, healthy energetic connections, they don't just happen. They happen naturally, but they have to be maintained intentionally. They happen naturally, but they have to be maintained intentionally. And so we see even now that there's a lot of those continuing of that conversation right now, potentially towards potential counterpart in saying, the ability to articulate upon how to continue to maintain a healthy energetic connection. If this is someone that you're trying to build forth with, then is like, I don't like talking about this stuff. Why can't we just see where something goes? Why do we always have to, why can't I just have these moments of being shady or weird or closing off? This is the energy basically saying to someone, saying, you can't be in a healthy energetic connection and do that, because that's that partial full moon eclipse here. The what cannot be seen, what isn't seen is where the anxiety lives. What cannot be seen is what the fear creates. So we see even now, this is the energy saying we can have a relationship like that, but it's going to feel like this, because when we have those conversations and we're not willing to talk about what's occurring, it feels like something is partially hidden. That full moon, that partial full moon eclipse. And that's that moment. It's like the fear lives in what cannot be seen. So we see even now that this is the energy that's saying, it's not the fact that you can't have your own personal life and in being in divine union, but the ability to articulate and to have open conversations when someone is experiencing those modalities of uncertainty. The gift that we give each other is the consistency and the clarity in those moments that we feel lost. And so this is energy basically saying, we cannot be in an energetic relationship, because this is the energy saying to someone, if I ask you what's wrong and you say nothing, then what you're really saying is, I'm saying, help, I'm lost. And you're saying, no, you're not. Right? Because that's that ability of someone saying, understanding that we have those modalities. What we're really saying to one another is, I need a little light over here. I'm feeling a bit in the dark. I'm feeling a bit isolated. I'm feeling a bit energetically alone. So being able to recognize that, being able to articulate through it, to create clarity, and to say, what can I do to help facilitate you not feeling energetically abandoned, right? This is the energy almost saying to one another. And this is the energy, again, having the conversation and getting everything they need to know and how someone's responding to it. Because that's either the energy right now of someone saying, I understand what you mean. I'm sorry I made you feel like that. What can we do to improve that going forward? Those are the energies that are moving potentially into divine union. If these are situations where someone's like, you're acting a little weird, I wanted to get some clarity, and they're saying, no, I'm not. You're being crazy. I need space. Why are you always on me? This is a little too much. This is a little too intense. I feel cramped. I feel anxious. I feel claustrophobic. This is the energy that's looking towards someone and saying they're not ready for divine union. They may be saying that they are, but they're not. Because that vulnerability does not feel like an expansion point. It feels like it feels like they're holding it from a place of fear. It feels like the walls are coming in on them. And so this is the energy that, again, the gift that's happening for the energy within divine union experiencing this is saying, I can't release someone from feeling like that. But I also don't want to facilitate being in an energetic connection that makes someone say, I have to disassociate in order to continue to maintain the connection. Because this is the energy that's now just saying we're not in alignment. And when someone's saying to you, when you're in an energetic connection with them, and they're just saying, it's just a bit too much, you're just a bit too much. What they're really saying is, we're not on the same frequency. I'm not ready to match your level and degree of intensity. That's not a moment that says that you are energetically wrong. It means that you're energetically with someone that isn't in alignment to you. So everything that you give them, they will always say that it's off key because you're not on the same frequency. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now for the energy and separation. This is, I see even now, like this is some kind of period of patience. I see even now, I don't see a lot of energy like diving into a new energetic connection right now. I feel like there's a lot of energy right now that's got a lot of stuff coming toward them all at once. Like, I feel like there's a bit of energy right now that's in separation that feels like they're going through a little bit of this like feast and famine moment, being like nobody was around a minute ago. Why is everybody climbing out of the woodwork now? But we're seeing that a lot of that reason has to do with, again, the energy basically saying, I'm done. And in the process of saying that you're energetically done, something wonderful and new begins. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy navigating those spaces and places, this is feeling like an energetically, I want to say, I can see the energy and separation being like, what is happening right now? Like, what is happening? Because it says to me, I told you guys, if this is occurring, I told you, be prepared for like surprises. Be prepared for surprises during eclipse season, because eclipse seasons are like notorious for having those little like surprises popping up. But again, what we don't do when we have energetic surprises is move off of our intentionality. So we see even now, like this is a lot of energy that's trying to stay focused on path work in the space of recognizing and identifying the difference between something that feels like, again, and this is why we see even now this could be difficult. Energy that feels like they're coming into that space of saying, stay. I'm not going to change. I just want you back, right? Like that's versus the energy that's coming towards the energy in separation that says, I want something that feels like it's positive. I want to move into divine union. I'm looking for that same energetic sense of giving. So a lot of this energy right now in that pathwork of discernment in separation. Clarification between our Hierophant in its upright and our High Priestess in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Pentacles in its upright. I'm going to say it again. You know what I say during these eclipse seasons? I always say this, but I mean it especially when we're in retrogrades and eclipses. Don't pop off on anybody, please. If you don't do it for you, don't do it for me. Because if you come over to me and tell me that happened, I'm going to say, did you not listen? Don't pop off on anybody. Because again, we are still seeing the remnants of some of that Pisces full moon energy. It's sensitive stuff. It makes it feel like you got no skin. Everything like it's Princess and the Pea. The thing you could tolerate last week feels like it's insurmountable. The molehill becomes the mountain, right? Eclipses have a tendency of amplifying. So I'm going to say it again. If you got a harebrained idea in the middle of the eclipse, okay? If you suddenly decided, like we talked about yesterday, and saying, you know what, that thing that person did to me in 1992, I never got over it. I think I should let them know. I think I should give them a piece of my mind. No, you don't. No. I want you to put it in a box. Write it down. Put that crazy little idea in a box. And I give you full permission, if after the retrograde is over, if on October 17th, you pop it back open and you say to yourself, you know what? Yeah, I still feel like that. Then okay, we can talk about that. But now is not the time. The old wounds that rise to the surface during eclipse cycles, if they feel like they're moving you off of your intentionality, recognize it as such. Because this can be a very triggering time. And even here, especially if there's energy here coming back from the deep past, which is what I'm seeing for some of the energy in this collective right now. It could be a lot of moments being like, I've really waited a long time to give someone a piece of thy mind, right? Like save it for after the eclipse right now, okay? After the eclipse, say like, I can't. I was told I have to wait. I got to put it in a box. Grace Strega told me I had to put it in a box, okay? You'll thank me. Because even here, you know, there's a lot of issues that are happening right now in relationality to timing. And I can even see now, like I can just see someone saying to someone, like, your timing is terrible. I can just hear a lot of energy right now in separation saying your timing is terrible. The funny thing is, I either see this in new energetic connections that are coming together. And almost like in the moment of someone saying your timing's terrible, someone being like, maybe it's perfect. Right? Because this is a lot of the energy right now in separation that feels like they've moved away from something because they've had enough, right? And so a lot of that energy coming into that space of healing, there's a lot of energy that feels like they're very energetically triggered right now. But again, what's valuable and important about feeling triggered? To be able to talk through an energetic trigger instead of reacting to it is what allows for that point of understanding. And so we see even now, feminine is being very conscientious. Feminine is still staying very, like, holding things very close to the chest. But that is because this is how the feminine is healing right now. Feminine energy is protecting their heart. Feminine energy saying, I'm not just going to give my heart to the first person that pops up and asks for it. I'm going to ask them where they're taking it. I'm going to ask them what they did with the last one. I'm going to ask them how their own heart is. So we see even now that a lot of that ability, navigating those doubts and fears, but not letting those fears override one's own intentionality. It's tricky stuff right now, right? Because the eclipses have a tendency of taking that small little thought, making it real big, making it like it be like, what if that's happening? You know, like it's like it creates a lot of that amplification. We heal one another by articulating about our fears, not reacting to them. And so we see that for a lot of that energy and separation right now, there's a lot of new energetic connections that are coming through. And I can see a lot of those new energetic connections coming through and saying to one another, there was nothing I could do. I left a situation. Look at this, masculine and feminine now starting to come into new energetic connections going, I left a situation. I did everything I could do until there was nothing left to do but go. And that is a lot of the sign and path work that we're seeing of the energy that's healing. And they're going into that space of almost articulating to one another in the process and saying in that process, you know, almost getting that sense of validation and saying, I wish I could have done something better. But look at this. These are the energies that are speaking towards one another and reassuring each other at a moment of encountering each other with similar abandonment wounds. So this is where some of that healing's going to begin. And that's not assuming that those wounds are occurring again. It's articulating through them. While masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is a really heavy energetic time. Because I have to say, masculine and feminine energy, I keep seeing that there's energy right now coming into divine union, and one side of the energy may potentially be in a space that they see someone else reacting, letting their abandonment wound get the best of them. And this is, again, masculine and feminine coming into divine union and having that modality and saying you're acting triggered. You're acting out of the quality, the characteristic that I've come to know you as. And this is a lot of energy that's looking potentially at someone and saying, is this what's been preventing you from moving into divine union? Are you in that modality that when you get close to divine union, you start to get overly anxious? You start to let those fears creep in? You start acting energetically volatile? You start holding on to things too tightly? You start running away? You start feeling is it because you start feeling yourself actually feeling again? You start feeling those nerves activating? But you haven't found a way to balance them, so instead you start projecting them outwards. So we see even now that there's a lot of energy right now that's experiencing that, and they're trying to show someone in a way, you know, not coming into an accusatory space, but saying, do you think that this is your abandonment wound getting the best of you? Is this a moment where you should be coming towards me and you're running away from the thing that is the thing you want because you're letting your fear override it? And so we see even now, like the thing that's heartbreaking, but I want to say it's a heart opening for some of the energy experiencing that, Because if all of that energy is getting everything they need to know and trying to facilitate that conversation. Because if someone says, actually, yes, I have a tendency of doing this, I'm glad that you brought it up. I just recognized it in myself too. I want to help like work through facilitating how to get through it. Like that's the energy that says, okay, this has the possibility of healing. But if these are situations where someone's going, I don't know what you're talking about. No, you're doing that. No, I'm not doing that. Why are you accusing me? This is feeling too confining. I just need some space. This is just moving a little too fast. Then this is the energy that's going, I think this person is saying that they want love, but they're not necessarily ready to hold love, right? That there's a difference between saying that you desire something versus having the capacity or the fortitude of being able to energetically maintain it. And for a lot of the energy experiencing that, you know, it's like they're almost starting to go through that release process, because this is the energy saying, like the beauty here is the energy saying, I'm not creating that, I'm experiencing it. And this is the energy saying, I can't change that. I'm just observing that it is occurring, you know, and it's heartbreaking, but it's heart expanding in the modality or the moment that someone isn't holding themselves accountable for it occurring. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 8 of Cups in its upright and our 10 of Swords in its 8 of Cups in its reversal and our 10 of Swords in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Empress in its reversal. If this card looks familiar, it is because we ended our reading on it yesterday in its upright. Feminine energy right now, feminine's got their guard up, you know? Feminine's feeling frustrated, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. It's very reasonable, I'm seeing here, for the energy of the feminine to be feeling like a little bit of that work here, especially, and I need to stress this because we're going to talk a little bit about the energy that's navigating this space deep within divine union. Masculine and feminine deep within divine union right now, this is a lot of work that they've been navigating and dealing with others' triggers on top of their own, right? And what's difficult when you deal with others that are coming towards you being energetically triggered, it feels very hard because you want to help someone observe that that may be occurring, but at the same time, holding one's own energetic standards and not tolerating anything that doesn't feel like it's yours. So we see even now, for masculine and feminine energy, that's a little bit of a different work. Because for masculine, if that feels like something where the masculine is being triggered from a space of pride, this is masculine that's building more in that sense of security, right? This is a little bit easier for the masculine that's already saying, like, I'm not externalizing, I'm not looking for validation of self outside of the self. For feminine, it's a little bit harder, because for the feminine, this is the feminine that's almost coming in that space of saying, like, not wanting to be dispassionate, you know, working through that sense of energetic resiliency. That's more of that feminine trying to do that work to a certain extent, and like building into that sense the same work that the masculine is doing. But the difficulty here is this is feminine that works through the sense that they wish that they could be more energetically compassionate, but they recognize that there's only so much that they can energetically do, right? Like some of that pathwork of resilience, it's hard for the feminine, because that's the feminine that keeps trying to reaffirm to themselves, right? Even here with both the high priestess and the empress in its reversal, that, you know, like this is I see a lot of feminine energy feeling frustrated because it's almost the feminine energy, and this is where some of that Libra energy for the season's coming in. This is a feminine almost feeling like I always have to decide between my head and the heart, and each time it feels like moving towards one feels like it's betraying the other, right? But this is more of the feminine that's like working on integrating the head and the heart space via the away. Like this is the feminine energy integrating those spaces in such a way that's almost allowing for that space or that place wherein the energy of the feminine is like, I want to say, I see a lot of feminine energy right now working on building energetic standards for themselves that feel like they help them navigate between those two spaces, as it were. Now, for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, This is why so much of this work right now feels like it's make or break to a certain extent, because I'm just seeing even here that for a lot of this energy, this is the feminine energy coming into divine union that's reaffirming to themselves and saying, if a masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, this is the feminine energy saying, if a masculine energy does not want to come into divine union, there is nothing on this planet that can adjust that. There's nothing that can change that. There's nothing here that the feminine should not be in that modality of feeling like they need to like bring the masculine. Oh, we've already got the next card coming out. Of bringing the masculine in the modality of desiring that. This is a feminine energy that's now kind of looking towards masculine and saying some masculine energy desires that, some masculine energy doesn't. And this is the feminine that basically says like, the job is not trying to bring someone up into that space where they suddenly like, it's not like acting as a sales pitch. Like, let me introduce you to all the reasons why you might want to move into come into divine union. But this is the energy of the feminine saying the masculine that's ready is ready. And the feminine saying to themselves in separation, the masculine energy that's ready is going to articulate both what it is that they desire and with counterpart. And they're going to move with conviction and integrity towards it. And that's a feminine basically. Again, this is why even here this is triggering to the feminine, because that's the feminine that feels, the frustration in that moment from all those times that they may have overly internalized experiencing that and blaming themselves in the process. The healing that's coming through for some of the energy within divine, coming into divine union that's feeling this right now is this the feminine saying, I'm not going to internalize that. I'm not taking that on my own person. I'm not going to facilitate that growth. I'm just here to observe whether it's here or not. Like, is the cake ready or not? Is the cake ready or not? Well, for masculine energy right now, this is very much the same to a certain extent, because I see for masculine energy, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now, the thing with this is for masculine, this is feeling like more of a maturation process to a certain extent. I see masculine energy in that modality that I'm seeing the ability and the desire not to build around feminine, but to build with feminine is one that really I see that this is the masculine energy that and I think I have to give a lot of credit to the masculine energy doing this, is saying they're not just doing this for themselves. I'm hearing a lot of masculine here saying, I'm doing this for my children's children. This is a lot of the masculine energy saying, I recognize and I know that this is something that I'm healing in a big way. And in that way, I almost see here it's energetically difficult, because for a lot of the masculine energy, this is redefining not just a lot of the pathwork of the past, but a lot of things that they were taught or a lot of things that they were shown, and building into that state of empathy. This is why I see even now there may be a lot of energy that's coming towards feminine at this time and saying, I hear apologies here. I hear apologies, but I have to stress this. This is not the type of apology of a masculine that's saying, I'm sorry about what happened last week. This is masculine energy that's saying, I've been on a really deep journey. I understand that, I've been healing what I've been taught. I've been healing about what I've thought. And so I see even now, a lot of that conversation may be occurring right now for energy and separation, and a lot of it is almost a lot of this energy of the masculine coming to this point of correction to a certain extent, because again, this is the masculine energy that even now is almost feeling the frustration of not just their own, the past path work, but even the energy of some of the other masculine around them to a certain extent, So even here, I feel like there's a lot of shifts that are occurring in separation, but they're all coming through very productive conversation that is identifying and recognizing a curiosity or an investment in relationality to building such with feminine in a way that that they haven't before, while for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is what I meant with about so much of this energy. I just see feminine looking to masculine and saying, if the masculine does not desire this, they're not ready. And if masculine is seeing feminine that is hot and cold, then this is the masculine almost saying the same. This is the masculine saying, I need the feminine to desire the things that I want and being able to maintain the energetic consistency in that, because that is the security that we bring forth to one another. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, this is that learning process. This is doing things in different ways and giving each other credit for one's own adaptability and one's own flexibility. Again, a lot of that message of the idea of the bow that can bend never breaks. So even here, the fact that these are energies that are doing things in different ways, like that is the energy that I see as like appreciating and giving each other credit to one another, because this is the energy that's really invested in that pathwork of expansion and learning as they go. Continuing to get clarification between our 8 of Swords in combination with our 5 of Pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Queen of Swords in its reversal. So if this card looks familiar too, she's been coming up in a reversal today and yesterday, right? Because what we're really seeing here, and this is, I want to say, this is like a lot of contemplative energy right now around feminine. And I have to stress, for a lot of the feminine energy deep within divine union, this could also be navigating circumstances and situations related to other feminine energy as well. Because I see a lot of this energy right now of feminine almost coming towards one another and like acting as clarifiers to a certain extent, like giving each other energetic support along the way. Because for so much of this energy right now, there's something about this pathwork. It's like I keep seeing I see a bunch of feminine energy deep within divine union. It's like all the feminine energy, each one has something the other needs. So there's a lot of work right now I'm seeing for feminine energy navigating spaces and places of connectivity, right? Because there's almost a little bit of this like sense of like, I see like this energetic networking that's happening right now for feminine energy being like, I'm not good at that, but I know someone who's good at that. I know someone who's good at that. Do you know someone who's good at that? I know someone who's good at that, right? It's a little bit of this like here and here and here and here and here kind of energy that I'm seeing. But what's nice about it is like, it's almost like it's requiring that space or place of, like this is the energy of the feminine building more into that space of focus and resilience to a certain extent. Because I just keep seeing that this is a lot of that energy of the feminine that is like, this is like a lot of planning, like a lot of focus, a lot of determination, a lot of adaptability. Masculine, much more grounded energy today. I see a lot more practical work happening for masculine energy deep within divine union. And a lot of it feels supportive in kind of the same fashion. I told you a lot of the energy right now deep within divine union is doing that work on a lot of energy outside of the energetic connection itself. So I want to say this is giving me a lot of vibrations today of like productive communication, but making sure that you're not being triggered in the process. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, this is what I mean. This is the energy that's kind of like the conversations, like I see, and I think that the difficulty here is these are either productive conversations and someone saying, yes, you're right. Something you've seen here, I have a tendency of doing. Thank you for conversing. And I can see even now there may be some conversations here that are being fortified. Energy that's like moving back into divine union by someone saying, I've never had someone talk to me about this before. I've never had someone be so rational. I've never had someone just be able to I want to say address the elephant in the room, right? So for a lot of the energy, having those conversations, the ability to just tackle something that you used to feel like you were dancing around, this is a lot of energy right now that may potentially be having breakthroughs in that way, but not being triggered. But again, if these are conversations where someone's saying, like reading between the lines, and someone is arguing and saying, no, you're reading between the, like, I literally see someone saying, you're reading between the lines, and someone saying, yeah, I'm reading between the lines because you're not telling me what's on the page. Like, this is the conversation. If someone is getting argumentative and saying to someone, you're reading between the lines, and someone saying, I'm reading between the lines because you're not telling me the words on the page. This is a lot of energy that says, I know what's happening here. This is someone who's too afraid to effectively talk about what they're going through because they're energetically afraid of coming into divine union, right? So we see even now, like, that's that sense of not being triggered if that's occurring, is allowing the clarity and seeing what is occurring. Continuing to get clarification between the Empress card in its reversal in combination with our Two of Swords in its transverse, which flew out of the deck. I'm not surprised to see it. It's Libra season, so we're going to see a lot of these twos popping up. As the card drops to the floor. Whoop, 2 cards. All right, I'll take these 2 cards together. We've got here our Six of Wands in combination with our Strength card. So even here, the beauty that I'm seeing for the energy and separation right now, I just see I gotta say, I see right now energy that is having really deep conversations that are either potentially leading into divine union. Specifically because someone's saying, I've never had someone speak to me about this before in the way that you do. Like someone being able to take a very pragmatic approach to an emotional circumstance. Like that is either leading to breakthroughs, but if this is an argumentation zone, the thing I got to tell you is I see energy falling into separation just as quickly as they started to enter divine union. Because if this is a moment where someone is getting reactive, and then on top of getting reactive, someone is saying to them, you seem like you're changing, and someone's going, no, I'm not. And someone's saying, you know, you definitely are there, you know, there's definitely qualities and characteristics here that are not the way you were before. And someone's saying, no, nothing's wrong. And being like, I'm happy to talk about it. You know, sometimes like when we start feeling vulnerable, things change. And someone being like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like this is the energy that feels like even in that moment, they're having a breakthrough, because this is the energy saying, I can't, this is someone that's giving the evidence that when they feel vulnerable, they become energetically impossible to talk to. This could be the articulation of someone that says that they desire partnership, but they don't have the consistency required energetically or emotionally in order to sustain and maintain it. Because you can naturally fall into a synchronistic relationship, but that is something that you have to work to facilitate, to maintain. You can't just let something come naturally, because anything valuable requires work. And so even here, the energy saying, I'm not going to over-internalize that. I just see that it's happening. And some energy that may be like just stepping away from it sooner than getting overly invested. This is a lot of that energy that like is feeling the release and relief in that moment, because this is the energy saying, I'm strong enough of person that I don't overly internalize something that someone's bringing forth to me. I recognize what is mine versus what is theirs. And that in itself, as even if it's heartbreaking, it's heart expanding, because it's an energetic breakthrough of the self. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, I see new energetic connections that are forming, potentially articulating and saying to someone, yeah, well, you know, I was trying to build forth with a connection with someone. They said that they wanted something, but they certainly didn't seem like they had the ability to maintain what they were asking for. Like I can literally see new energetic connections that are occurring here, having that conversation, like literally saying like, you know, they're saying one thing, but but as soon as like we got to a certain point and they started acting funny, and I realized and recognized that like, you know, they've got too many abandonment issues, or they've got too much anxious attachment disorder, if they've got too much anxiety, that when they start to feel that activation point of vulnerability, they cut and run instead of draw forth and embrace. This is a lot of energy I'm seeing building into new energetic connections of someone saying like, oh yeah, I've been there. I've experienced that. It hurts like hell. And someone being like, I know. And like, these are the energies that are feeling fortified by articulating upon those experiences and having someone say to them, I've been there too. I am also healing from someone that was not healed enough to be able to hold love. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, this is the energy that if it's hard, they're patting each other on the back, because this is the energy saying, the bow that bends but doesn't break shows the adaptability necessary to survive difficult circumstances. So even here, this is the energy that's doing things in different ways. This is the energy that's saying, I appreciate you, not just because of who you are, but because that is an ever-evolving journey. And you don't become, this is the energy that's like always challenging themselves in new ways and growing stronger in the process. Continuing to get clarification between our Two of Swords in its transverse and our Queen of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Cups in its upright. So for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now is about decisions. It's about making it's like a lot of choices energetically. There's a lot of different energetic choices that are coming through right now for energy deep within divine union. And a lot of this, again, is a lot of the lesson of the Virgo season still coming into fruition, which is, again, the recognition point. This is a lot of the work of the energy within divine union is trying not to overextend themselves, but pacing, right? Like building into that state or space of planning ahead and recognizing and feeling that sense of like one thing in front of the other. So this is how that energy within divine union, deep within divine union, is navigating a lot of the choices to be made right now. And this is not surprising because we see that a lot of new energy has moved deeper into divine union. So there may be some energy right now that are making, I want to say, it may feel like sudden choices, but these are not energy. I need to stress this. This is energy that may be feeling like they're making sudden choices for those around them. But as we said, what happens during eclipses? Eclipses are often immediate activation points on something that's had a long time intentionality towards it. So these are not energies that are acting rashly, specifically because these are energies that are doing something that they always intended to do, but the timing feels right now to be able to activate and do it. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, so much of this work that we're seeing for the energy coming into divine union right now has to do, like, this is the energy saying to someone, the choice is yours. And that's what's important here. And I see even now, the only thing I see that's painful right now, navigating with someone, these are energies that came very close to moving into divine union here, and they still are very close. This is some energy right now that is almost saying to someone, we're on the cusp of moving into something that is very serious, but it is going to be a profound change. Are you ready for that? And the important thing about this is these aren't the energies that are trying to force that into the energetic counterpart. This is the energy saying the choice is yours. Because this is the energy that also recognizes the difference between someone moving into that space willingly and joyfully versus someone feeling like they're doing it as an act of energetic resignation. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy, that sense of, again, the word that's amplifying as to whether they feel like someone is ready to move into divine union has to do as to whether they're having that conversation with integrity and conviction. If they're trying to avoid it, if they're trying to move away from it, if they're trying to do everything they can to say that it's not there, then that's the energy that says, I have to, this is the energy, again, saying to themselves, I don't want to read between the lines, but if you don't give me the words, you're forcing me to. And the fact that I have to do that, this is the energy saying, if I have to read between the lines, then I'm already seeing the fact that this isn't a healthy energetic connection. And so that's the energy that goes, I've seen all I need to see. So this is either the energy, again, having more of those breakthroughs right now that is allowing something that can be worked upon, or someone breaking free and saying, I wish you well, but I think that you want one thing that you say that you want, but you're not actually ready for what it is that you're asking for. Final card, and a lot of this energy in separation right now, coming into new energetic connections, articulating upon just these same circumstances. I told you, things start activating very quickly during these eclipse cycles. Final card for today between our Strength card, our Six of Wands, and our Four of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Cups in its upright. masculine and feminine energy. You know what's so funny? I'm sorry. I know that there's been a bunch of energy and separation that was saying a few days ago, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. Well, then who the heck's that? Because I have to stress here, what we're seeing here is beautiful alignment that's coming through right now. But a lot of that alignment, I need to say this. If this is not energetic alignment that's happening outside the self, this is energetic alignment that's happening within the self. This is a lot of energetic alignment right now for energy and separation that says, and again, typically, when we're in energetic alignment with ourself, we know what is for us, right? This isn't the energy that says, when you know what's for you, you don't go, oh, that person doesn't seem like they want to come towards me. Maybe if I just do this a little bit, they'll think that this is who I am. Maybe if I go like this a little bit, they'll think this is who I am. Maybe if I like go like this, they'll like this is the energy goes, this is who I am. You take it or you leave it. Like this is the energy going, this is who I am. I'm good with who I am. I want an energetic connection of someone that similarly sees that and they run towards it. They don't run away from it, right? So this is the energy going, if someone sees me in the space of who I am and they run away from it, I'm not going to chase after them. I'm not going to like Pepe Le Pew them. That's clearly someone that's giving every indication that they're not in alignment with my own energy. So we see that there's so much energy right now, like I'm getting like free as a bird to a certain extent. And a lot of it's just being articulated in the fact that the energy isn't like, bending over backwards to try to get clarity from someone. They're saying either give me the clarity or don't. And that's what brings us to the energy right now coming into divine union, because this is the energy that's saying, listen, we could be sweet. The song could be absolutely sweet until we get to the hard part. And if your voice starts cracking, if you start running away, maybe you're really good at singing an intro. Maybe that's where you want to be. Maybe you sing that introduction, if you will. But when we have to start getting to the space of harmonizing, where your voice has to go into spaces that might be a little bit more challenging, that's the difference between like doing what feels natural versus showing the ability of putting in the work that is required to maintain something. And honestly, the only difficulty that I'm seeing here is some energy right now having to say, everything was going so well, and then they just changed like that. And that's the energy that's almost saying to themselves, I recognize and realize that things will always feel beautiful when they're easy, right? Everything feels effortless, but it's that moment that feelings start getting involved, things start getting complicated. That ability of continuing to maintain and start doing that work in that complication zone. This is the energy that says, I'm not just here for someone who can sing a pretty tune. I'm here to see someone who can carry a tune. I'm here to see someone who can carry the consistency of maintaining that tune. So we see that this is the energy saying, that's the difference. That's the difference. And that is the energy saying, and this is almost the energy saying to someone, I know you can sing the tune, but are you ready to carry it? And that's giving them all the clarity that they need to a certain extent as to the difference between someone saying, they want a healthy, shallow connection without the responsibilities of divine partnership. And then they start to panic when things start feeling like they're getting more emotional or more intense. And this is the energy, the gift of the energy in that modality is this energy saying, I'm not going to blame myself if I experience that. I'm just going to recognize that it's happening. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, this is the energy that just, one thing after another. This is the energy that, again, this is the work that every day brings with it its new challenges. But again, the ability to how to navigate those challenges, that's the affirmation that we give to one another in those moments, because the real gift of unity and partnership is saying that it doesn't matter what occurs. It's that sense of strength in knowing and feeling the trust in how the counterpart will move with you in those modalities. So we see even now a lot of that energy. That's that re-encouragement of the strength in giving to someone as they're trying to do something in a different way and saying, I know that this isn't easy for you, but I've got you every step of the way. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now, our Queen of Cups, finally, geez Louise, finally a feminine card in its upright today. And it's a bottom of the deck. We've got 1, 2, 3. We got 3 feminine energy cards reversed today. But But this is the thing about this, the funny thing is, I have to say this, like feminine energy right now is proving extremely energetically strong because, feminine energy is working through the balancing of the energetic emotional space to a certain extent, right? And so we see even now that for a lot of the feminine energy, this is really giving me the type of vibration of going up to a feminine today and saying, like, bearing in mind this isn't based on gender, but how it feels most aligned to being like going to feminine, being like, how you doing? And feminine going, awful. But then like being like, totally, like, oh, it's a mess. Like, this is the energy going, like, not great, but they're doing it with a smile on their face. Why? Because feminine's in a flow state, right? Like when feminine's in a flow state, like that's the beauty of like this is giving all the energetic equivalent of feminine being in a flow state. Because when feminine's in a flow state, feminine energy, and this is the gift that feminine has, is it's a little bit easier than masculine. Like feminine has that ability that like when things are going like awful, like you're like, like you just kind of, you have to, you and that in a way, that is how the feminine energy is bringing forth that compassion. Right? Because that's the feminine energy that's keeping their vibration positive. But that's not the feminine energy keeping their vibration. That's a feminine energy almost saying to a certain extent, like when things are when things are heavy, it's that sense of like, it's like you got to laugh or you cry. It's not a fake it till you make it thing. It's one of those things like you got to laugh or else you'd cry, because that's the intensity of the energy, like bringing something up to a certain degree. Because that's the energy saying like, at least like, again, sometimes you have those modalities where you have to say, well, at least now it can't get worse. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have to have those, it's like those modalities where it's like, having that sense of joy, if you will, you know what I mean? Like it's that joy rampant. So, and that's that, and that's the indomitability, if you will, of moving in a space of like navigating your own emotional energy, right? Masculine again may be looking towards, and this is why we see even now, masculine may be looking towards feminine in this modality and considering it like one of the most beautiful qualities and characteristics, right? Because like that's a lot of the masculine energy I'm seeing right now, looking towards feminine in that modality and saying, it doesn't matter what happens, that's who they are. Right? And that is an energy that is often reflected in someone who knows themselves enough that they don't overly internalize the external problems around them. They just navigate through them. Masculine has a bit harder time doing that work. Masculine is taking a page from the feminine's book and doing that, because that's a feminine energy, masculine energy in energetic connection with feminine, that's learning not to take things personally, to get productive in that space. So these are the energies that are supporting each other along the way. It's just a little bit harder. This is a little bit harder work for feminine right now. Sometimes it's harder for masculine, it goes back and forth. Bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Now, for the energy in separation, I told you, these are the new energetic connections, but this is a masculine potentially meeting feminine with their guard up, but also recognizing entirely and being like, I understand why. Like, like this is a lot of the masculine energy in that modality. Again, if having reached energetic balance, this is the masculine feeling like they got their work cut out for them if they're building a new energetic connection with feminine, because they're almost identifying and recognizing and saying, I know how difficult this is. Like, I know, like, this is masculine being like, I know what you've gone through. I know what you've experienced. I know how you've been let down. I know you've been energetically disappointed. So we see even now, these are healthy energies trying to connect, and masculine trying to show the feminine in that healed state. I know why you're cautious. I know why you're conscientious. And this isn't the masculine energy that tries to force that sense of trust out of feminine. This is the masculine that starts to say, I'm going to start to do everything I can to show you that what I'm saying is true. And that's, again, healthy masculine energy that knows that like words mean nothing without action. While for the energy right now, in separate, like coming into divine union, this is all about the difference between saying what one desires versus how one moves. And so we see even now that both for masculine and feminine, that ability of navigating that space, it's hard. For feminine, it's requiring that ability of not holding on to things too tightly. For masculine, it's that ability of being able to energetically let go. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember, I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing. Also, a couple of updates before we close the readings for today and begin our personal readings. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who joined us at our Hierophant class. Our next class will be held on Thursday, October 10th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies in the tarot with a focus on the Lover's card. And I'm so excited to teach this class. It is the second cycle that we find in the tarot. We're beginning the second part of our tarot journey. I cannot wait to share that journey with you. If you have not joined us over on my Substack, if you would like to have a live ticket into that class, your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket. Also, if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can get a discount on that paid subscription if you head over to our Discord channel. You should be able to find that in your perks. Your paid subscription to my Substack will grant you access and entry into each month's live class. It will also grant you access into the course materials and recordings for the previous classes. Now, there's about 6 hours worth of material there that is ready for your perusal prior to beginning that class. So now is a perfect time to join our class program because you've got ample opportunity to catch up. You don't need to catch up to follow the classes. I give a recap in each class, but it certainly helps. And you'll be able to benefit from all of the benefits of that subscription. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we are learning. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein we will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey, and I'll give you the best insights to help you in your own education, both in class and outside of the classroom. One of the things I tried to do with these classes was make them so that they would be accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as a seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you if you're already joining us there, and I look forward to potentially seeing you at our next class. But even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings, services. I post the Daily Collective Reads podcast there with a full photo of the spread, so you'll be able to see the spread. You'll also get updates as to my live schedule each week, as well as my in-person appearances. You'll also have access to our giveaway information. Speaking of which, we are in the process of having our September giveaway. If you would like to win a free tarot reading with me, a free private tarot reading, head over to the link tree in my bio. There's a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that travel survey will grant you an entry into the survey, into the giveaway. But if you want to increase your chances of winning, forward that survey to a friend, because when I pull the winner, I'll be giving away a reading not only to the person who wins, but also to the person who referred them. So I want to thank you so much if you've already entered, and I wish you the best of luck of winning this month. Finally, I want to let you know that on top of my standard life path readings, I now offer mentorship classes. These can be focused on whatever area or course of study you are interested in learning more about. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. Also, for my these can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series. That is 4 45-minute readings, classes 1 per week over the span of a month. And also for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, one per week over the span of a month, so that you can stay more consistent on your own personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages. And we will do this again